I would say this, for you, the best way maybe to do this would be to try to draw two parallel lines like this, and then two parallel lines like that. Okay, that is, by definition, a parallelogram has two sets of parallel lines. Two sets of parallel lines. And remember, it doesn't have to look like that. You know, a rectangle is a parallelogram, a square is a parallelogram, a rhombus is a parallelogram. Those are all special types of parallelograms, but this is your garden variety thing now. And one or two important things to know. First of all, when you have a parallelogram, write this down. When you have a parallelogram, the opposite angles are equal. That means if this angle is 60 degrees, the angle that's opposite of it is also 60 degrees. Okay. And the other thing in there would be that the, I want to say adjacent, but they're not necessarily adjacent. How do they, does the book even say this? I think they don't have to say this here. Yeah, I guess it's this way. Opposite angles are equal, adjacent angles. Anybody know what adjacent means? Adjacent means next to each other. In other words, this angle right here is adjacent to this angle right there. They're next to each other. Just like this angle and this angle are adjacent to each other. They're right next to each other. Adjacent angles are supplementary. Have we taught supplementary?
Yeah.
Or, in other words, they add up to 180 degrees. Okay? So the deal with that is this. If this is 60 degrees, I know that this angle would have to be, it has to add up to 180 degrees with its adjacent angle. What would that be, Colton?
120 degrees.
Yep, 120 degrees and 120 degrees over there. Okay, let's look at another example here. Do another parallelogram. So, if I said that this angle here was 105 degrees, you should be able to tell me all of the other angles, what their measurements would be. What would this angle be here? Now remember, these are adjacent angles, they're next to each other. These are opposites. Opposite of each other, adjacent to that one. How many degrees would this angle over here be, Nate?
75.
Correct, because these two angles here have to add up to 180 degrees. And then because you know the whole opposite thing, you know that this angle and this angle have to be equal, so this is 75, and you know this angle and this angle have to be equal. Those are 105. Okay, so adjacent ones have to add up to 180 degrees, and opposite ones are equal. Now, here comes the next interesting fact. If you have a trapezoid, or if you have a parallelogram, sorry, and you want to find its area, let's say this is 8 inches and this is 6 inches. The area of a parallelogram equals the base times the height. Equals the base times the height. Now, why do you suppose the area of, I didn't say that the area of a parallelogram is equal to the length times the width, because there is a difference there. Does anybody know what the difference between length and width and base and height are? Charlie.
Length times width. Length and width is like the border of it, and base and height are like tall and small.
Not necessarily, I'm just gonna put it. Anytime you see the base and the height as something to find area, they must be perpendicular to each other. Okay, they must be perpendicular to each other. If I asked you what the area of this parallelogram is, you would tell me what, Colton? 8 times 8 is not correct. If I asked you to find the area of this parallelogram, right here's the formula, base times height, they must be perpendicular to each other. Gabby?
8 times 6.
It would not be 8 times 6. Why is it not 8 times 6? Because the line with 8 and the line of 6 are not perpendicular. They don't form a right angle. Alex Vollmer.
14 times 14.
It is not 14 times 14, nor do I have any idea where you got 14 from. What you would tell me, children, is that you can't find the height or the area of this parallelogram because you're not given the base and the height. Okay, you're given one side and the other side of which they're not right angles. In order for you to do this problem, the book will have to give you a dashed line like this with a nice square corner telling you that that's a perpendicular thing to this, and then they'll give you whatever that height is there. Okay, if it is a parallelogram, you must be given 2 lines that are perpendicular. If not, you can't find it. So the area of this is, and it doesn't matter which one you call the base and which one you call the height. It's going to be base times height is 8 times 5. And the area then would equal 40 inches squared. Okay, you have to be given 2 lines that are perpendicular. Have we done area of triangles yet? No. Let me give you another one. Let's say this is your parallelogram. And you know that it is 20 centimeters by 12 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 12 centimeters. The area of that parallelogram, Alex, is?
We don't know.
Thank you very much. We got it. You can't tell until you are given this line right here that forms a right angle. Okay, maybe that's 10 centimeters. And then you need to make sure that you do the 2 that form the right angles. Who keeps talking? Is it you? Try one more time when I ask you to leave. I can't compete with you. Alright, so the area equals base times height. And then the area equals 10 times 20, which so happens to be 200 centimeters squared. You got that? Now, if you're asked to do the perimeter, perimeter is just the distance around. You don't need this line here. It's just here, plus here, plus here, plus here. If you're asked for area, you do need that. Caroline, did you have a question?
Yeah, how do you determine what to multiply by the dotted line?
It's the 2 lines that form a right angle. Okay, so this is one line that forms a right angle, this one forms a right angle with it. Okay, these don't. You could do these 2, but they would have to give you, it would have to look like this, and they would have to give you this line that would go dashed like this, and then they'd have to give you a right angle there. Then it would be this line times this line, because those are the 2 that make the T. The ones that make the T are the ones you multiply together, like the British. If you can make T like the British,